and then watch the interview and then write down this question. Was the system that they executed a simple system that had specific guidelines that they followed for themselves, or was it a system so well dressed in mayonnaise and little flavors and sauces that you needed to pick the right ones just so you could get the right little trade? Quick disclaimer, these videos are meant for educational purposes only. Anything said or shown in any of these videos are personal opinion and my perspective. Trading carries a high level of risk, so anything done is your responsibility. Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to mentfx, and today we're going to be talking about a specific thing that you can do right now in your own trading to completely shift your current bottom line, your current edge, and potentially improve it in a way that you might not even see coming, and potentially help you in passing your next funded challenge, your next test at a demo account, your next few trades in a live environment, whatever it might be, and whatever system you're currently using, this is going to be something that you can apply to your own trading that should be able to improve it. Now, again, this is all perspective based, so any choices you make in the market is going to be your own. However, let's jump right into it because we're not going to waste any time. Before we do, very quickly, thank you guys so much for 100,000. I got the plaque; it's actually right here. Let me show you guys. Boom. There you go. Take a snapshot. Thank you so much for making this happen. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm actually having an office built currently, and once my office is fully completed and built, it will be framed up there because, I mean, it's just amazing. This is why I do what I do. It's so cool to see the support and also to see how people transform their lives practically, right? And perspectives over time as they study and find my content, which, I mean, there's no feeling like it. I'm not going to delve into it. There's no point, wasting time on that right now. Let's jump into the main thing I want to talk about today. So every single profitable trader, regardless of what market they've traded on, and if you've studied hundreds of years, more so like the last 100 years, because online trading in the form of being able to execute orders kind of on a screen and stuff, not like medieval times where they kind of just traded little schmeckles and coins. Ever since it's been around, you have the success stories during their specific time, right? So no matter who you've studied, and if you've studied, there's a few things that resound true about any single trading plan or trading system. One of the first ones, so I'm going to break this down here. One of the first ones is actually to keep your trading simple. Now, a lot of people think they're keeping their trading simple, but it's actually the complete opposite of that. What I mean by that is if you've looked in the smart money space, or actually like any space, but even right now, because we're kind of in the smart money space, if you've looked anywhere in the smart money space, what you might notice, especially if you've been on Instagram or even YouTube, is there's a lot of what I like to call as the jerk off porn chart side, right? Where you have something very simple. So right here, what you were taught is, let's go like this. So right here, what you are taught, to put it simply, is structure, okay? You're taught structure, S&D, confirm, okay? So we have a specific way that we're applying a mindset to the markets. We have specific things that we're looking for every single day, and those things don't change. It's a repetition. There are nuances within those three things, and there are ways by which we can look to stay out of certain moves because of rules that we have around structure. Certain things we can stay out of in case we have rules around the way we want to refine or zones that we don't like. Similarly, the rules that we have regarding confirm. So those are basically the guidelines that make up a simple rule set. However, when a rule set is simple, you usually can focus on the things that actually matter, and also you don't over refine a system. If you guys have ever built an EA or built an algo, you'll notice that if you try to fit that algo perfectly, right, it might work over that month or 2 months, but long term, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, especially, and you throw in the mix of like 10 different currency pairs or pairs, it goes to zero. It loses. So the first step of any profitable system or profitable trader, based on what I've studied, what I've seen, and what I've seen even in my own mentorship, what I've seen with mentfunding, which by the way has one of the highest passing rates in the industry right now, I believe. So that's an amazing thing to see. It means that some people that are learning here are starting to follow that through. Now again, past results don't at all imply any future results, but it's still a really cool thing to see. And this is usually the case. People that are swing traders on like a daily chart or something, some of them, the ones that I've studied, use a simple MA to get involved in trades. Some use a very, very simple like box breakout. Amazing. You want to keep your trading simple. And what you will notice, especially like I was saying, if you're on Instagram or YouTube or any of that fun stuff, you basically have 15 different words for structure taught to you, 15 different words for S&D taught to you, okay? And then 6,000 different things for confirm taught to you. And what happens is you begin to believe that there's this outlying majority of things that kind of just drift through space. And if you pick the perfect little arrow, if you pick, this arrow with this arrow and this arrow, that's the money. Everything else is like, it's just all over the place. You need to understand all of it to make money. And it's like, no, you do not need to do that at all. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go on Instagram, go look in the smart money area, and you're going to see 6,000 different words for an S&D. You're going to see unholy amounts of different words for confirm, unholy different amounts of things for structure. So the first thing that I want you to do is recognize that there are people that want to overcomplicate the process for you. So the first thing that you can do is either A, unfollow those people, or B, look at what those people are trying to teach or sell and understand that, and then compare it to something that you might be studying here, right? And then ask yourself what makes more sense. And then go out of your way to study some of the most profitable people of the last 100 years. It's exactly what I did personally. And notice the kind of systems they had. Were their systems, ask yourself this, write this down somewhere, were the systems that these people had, and again, you can do this anywhere. Go on YouTube, look up interview with profitable traders, something like that. And then watch the interview and then write down this question. Was the system that they executed a simple system that had specific guidelines that they followed for themselves? Or was it a system so well dressed in mayonnaise and little flavors and sauces that you needed to pick the right ones just so you could get the right little trade? Right? You're going to notice that a lot of the times it's the first option, where basically they had a very, very simple approach, just an MA breakout, a basic box breakout, a basic 1, 2, 3 structure S&D confirm breakout, a basic moving average crossover, a basic breakout of a candle, whatever it is. There is simplicity in it, right? I think Paul Tudor Jones was a funny trader at a time, because I think he literally bought and sold a breakout of a 200 MA. And one day he was on like Bloomberg or one of the crazy news outlets, and they were like, how did you know? How did you know it was going to drop and drop? How did you predict this whole big, how did you predict this entire move? And he basically looked at them and he was like, well, I actually shorted it 4 times before and those all failed. And then I shorted it again and it worked. And he just sold the 200 MA breakout. That's all he did. He shorted a few times, it failed. Shorted a few times, it failed. Shorted a few times, it failed. And then it shorted and it fell off the face of the fucking earth. And he made a shit ton of money, and people looked at him like, what is this unholy man doing? How does he know all this stuff? When in reality, all he really did was followed a simple system. So that's number one, is keeping a system that is extremely simple. No matter what space you're learning in, this will carry you extremely, extremely far in the trading space, okay? So yeah, Paul Tudor Jones, 200 MA, bought and sold it until he got it, right? Which brings me to my next point, which is really important. And a lot of people, again, forget this one too. It's losses are the best thing that can happen for your system. Okay. And what I mean by that is you will never have a system that's profitable. You will never make money in this market if you don't have losses, or even a string of losses. Losses is what determines if over time you're actually going to make money. The only way systems survive years upon years upon years of being invented and followed, and the rules being adapted and continuously followed, is that you are taking losses as part of the strategy. Which is why I hate with a passion when mentors put the kind of bullshit thing out there where they're like, listen, buddy, you got to learn from your losses. You got to study your losses to learn from your losses. I actually had a little discussion with someone in the mentorship not so long ago about this. And he was like, I finally understood what you meant. Because a lot of people want to tell you to learn from those losses. You get that loss, you find what you did wrong, and you got to change it all. It's like, no, not at all. Because if all of those losses in a grand scheme of things, so in a grand scheme of being like 100 trades, ended up making you money and overall having a net positive on your account and buildup of that bottom line, then why the fuck are you worried about your losses? Your losses are what allowed you to catapult your account higher. Now, it's a different thing to say you need to study the difference between the wins and the losses to determine if there are things you can refine or change to potentially have better management, increase the RR per trade, take less losses. But when you focus on how to get rid of losses, or you just focus on losses as part of the game, you keep yourself trapped in a loop nonstop, right? Why? Because losses are a part of the game. They make you profitable. And the second you try to dissect them and get rid of certain things in the loss category, well, you go back to kind of this thing right here, where you're trying to overcomplicate something that might be simple, right? And you're extrapolating it to this one time where it did work, but then over time it's going to affect you negatively. So to give you an example, it's like if you take a loss at an S&D, or you take 3 losses at an S&D, but that exact same criteria that you used to enter, that you then re-entered on for the next few trades, maybe you take 3 more losses and then you take a plus 20 or a plus 30. You're up about 25 RR. In that moment, is there a reason to check your losses and realize why the losses existed, and ask yourself, how do I fix my losses? Or is it better to say, yep, this is exactly what I wanted? The answer is it's exactly what you wanted. So the two things is, we study a conglomerate of losses plus wins in relation to the whole. Okay, so what that basically means is the whole can be 1,000 trades. And then within that, you want to see what the bottom line increase can look like. And if it's positive, there's really no reason to change it, right? And if there's over trading, there's too many trades in your mind, then we can make refinements to bring that down. But losses on their own are not a good reason to stop executing a certain trade, because losses are a complete part of executing, right? So like this week even, I took a great buy here, and I took 3 losses here. So I actually finished positive for the week by just a very little bit, but I took 3 losses the entire week. Now, someone just starting out in the trading space, especially if they, just joined my mentorship, and then they see me take these 3 losses right here, right? They're going to be looking at that like, that's it. This system doesn't work. I can't take 3 losses in a row. And a lot of the time, they're not just taking a -3 or 3 losses. They're actually taking a -1 that they let run because they need to recoup those losses. They took -2, but they didn't just take a -2. They actually allowed that one to run a little bit further and even increase the amount or the lot size or the risk percent per entry higher. And then the third one happened and they're like, well, I got to get into this one. So they got in, they increased it. They then closed at a small profit because they're like, oh my God, it's finally going. And then they jam-packed their account into the system. So that -3 for someone that is a professional trader or trading for a living is now a fully blown -100%, -100 RR to someone that hasn't studied their system. Or to others, it's an excuse to go and jump to the next best thing, right? It's an excuse to go and follow a new Instagram that shows you new chart porn of renamed words that you're going to think is good and you're going to think is helping you, but actually isn't. And once again, you keep yourself stuck in that loop. So the two main things so far is keep your entire trading system extremely simple, have a direct approach to it, realize losses are part of the system and make it good. And you shouldn't be analyzing your losses to figure out what you're doing wrong. You should be analyzing the system in relation to the losses and the wins to see what can be changed. And in some cases, if it is the case that the losses are clearly prevailing, then you can focus on some of your understanding, your analysis, and prior price action, which brings me to my next point. Okay, 3, study past price action. Now, some people are going to hate me for this, but there is not a single, well, there's actually probably some, maybe a very small minutia, but there's not really a single extremely profitable trader that I've studied personally that didn't study past price action, right? What I've seen a lot in the space is people that just join, want to jump on the live, start testing every concept they learn on the live, and they're stuck not learning anything. Because in the same time that it's going to take you to draw out this zone and wait for it to either get hit and move, not get hit and move, or get invalidated, the same time it's going to take you to wait for that. So already, like since the development of that zone, it's been about 5 days. This could now be in this range for another week, for another 2 weeks, for another 3 weeks, until we find out if it's going to hold, absorb, continue, or not even get to it at all. So a lot of people, right, especially if they're starting out, are already live on this, already trading, so they're already taking losses they shouldn't be taking because they don't even know what their system is. But they also are just waiting for this to play out. They'll go and analyze AU, do the same thing, go and analyze GU, do the same thing. And Now, right, they're going to wait about 4 weeks here, right? So let's do this like this. So they're going to now wait about 4 weeks, four to 5 weeks to find out what happens. And in that same time that it took them to wait for this, I could already have an addition of over at least probably 4 to 5 weeks. Let's see. I usually do about maybe 50 to 100 trades an hour testing wise. So if I do 50 to 100 trades an hour, let's say that's an average of like 50 plus 100 over 2, right? So about 75 an hour. Let's say I do it for 3 or 4 hours a day, which is very possible even if you're at a full-time job, 3 hours a day. And then, we have 5 weeks, so 5 times 7, I got to do it on my fingers because I'm pathetic, but 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, right? 35. So in that, something didn't go right there. So 75 times 3 hours a day, 75 times 3 hours a day times the amount of days. So that is 5, 10, I think it's 35, right? 35. So in the same time that it took you to figure out and to find out if the one zone you drew is actually correct or not correct, is going to hold or isn't going to hold, if you have the real understanding now or don't, in that same time that it took you to figure out if this trade would have played out on your little live account, I've basically gained experience over around 8,000 trades that I've been able to test, view, and now let me ask you a question. Do you think that that the result of this price action here in relation to the zone that you drew is going to teach you more than 8,000 previous examples that you could have gone back to and continue to study and learn about how price actually moves? And then you do this for a few months, you put yourself ahead of 99% of the entire industry. And this is something I talk about a lot in the private webinars and the private mentorship. So if you want to join that, the link's in the description, and you don't need to, right? I'm giving you the psychological tips that you need to improve your current trading plan, no matter what it is, by tenfold. So start putting these in motion, right? So you want to keep it simple. You want to accept your losses because they're part of the system and not study just the losses, but study a conglomerate of both. You want to study past price action. You can see how both of these can come in handy together, because instead of losing multiple trades here and going, what could I have done differently? I could have done, what could have I done? I'm going to wait my 5 weeks. Here I go. All right, 5 weeks. I'm going to wait my 5 weeks, and I'm going to find out what I could have done wrong, and then I'm going to learn from my losses on this one trade that doesn't mean shit in the grand scheme of things, right? Or you can put in the time and do, in that same time, around 8,000 tested trades and gain an understanding behind what you're doing, right? So that's something I found. Now, another thing I found, right, especially for those that are profitable, is they started... So move with the simplest, best setup within your setup before adding anything. Okay, so this is also kind of part of one. Now, it sounds really weird, but this is all it really means, okay? This means that you, based on whatever your setup is, you only take the ones that meet the conditions perfectly, and you don't play all the stuff in the middle. So a big problem that a lot of traders have is that they think that when they show up to work, aka they show up to the charts, they need to get a trade, and if they miss a trade, that's the worst thing that can happen to them. And if they miss a big move, so like if you get on the charts and then you miss this move down, you are to be shamed, spanked, and and just taken out. You're done. You shouldn't ever be a trader if you miss that, when it's the complete opposite, right? Like I like to say, about 99% of the price action on the actual charts, 99.9% is price action you're not actually going to be trading. About 0.1% of it, 0.01% of it is price action that's actually going to be meeting your specific criteria. Now, over time, you can bend guidelines, you can bend rules to allow yourself to trade more things, okay? However, you don't want to do this if you're not profitable yet. And this is what I've noticed about a lot of profitable traders. A lot of profitable traders that are now extremely profitable and might be doing a few things, or, a bended guideline of things. So they might be doing this, but they also might be trading this to this and this to this to this, right? Because they have this understanding of how prices move. They can now do that. However, every single one of those that I've personally studied, so this is very biased, but I'm trying to give you the best education that you can personally use for yourself. Every single one of those people that I studied started with one setup that they never changed and only took the best version of that setup. So now within the smart money space, I don't even want to call myself in the smart money space anymore because of what it's become. A lot of it is just like, it's become very dumb money. And again, go look around. You're going to see what I'm talking about. So instead of talking about it in the smart money space, I'm going to talk about it in the mentfx methodology space. So here, where I teach you to think about the 3-box system, right? Where I teach you, a market might be heading up, it breaks down, and you want to trade the 3 box off of that. Or it might happen on the second or the third. It might break down a little bit, and you understand you're bearish, so you're waiting, and then you play off of it, okay? And you keep moving, and you keep taking that lower, right? That's exactly how I call it this bad boy. I went over that in the mentorship and a few of these. However, how you can use this number 4 to your best ability right now is recognize what I've been telling you for a few weeks now, right? Where if a market is short, it's likely to remain short, and it's not likely to you're not likely to catch a low, right? So very rarely will you have a market that's, moving down, and then you can start buying up and it comes up and then goes down. Usually instead, right, instead of coming up to a zone or up to a zone, the market keeps moving lower, keeps moving lower. Here comes up, keeps moving lower, keeps moving lower. What am I looking for? Am I looking to buy to here? No, I'm looking to take it continuously lower, right? I'm still bearish on this. So in the case that you've created this, what do we call it? Basically a scan or an idea as to where the market wants to be moving, instead of trading every counter trend idea, every setup that presents itself, what you want to do is you want to limit yourself to one specific setup, and that being potentially, even when the market is bullish, to wait for a bearish range or to wait for a bearish range to break down. So in relation to the actual price action, okay, instead of looking to buy now up to here, right, you want to set an alert and you want to wait for price to be here to sell. Or, on the other hand, as I like to teach, because the market is showing you that it's overall short, we can look for a lower time frame to show us shorts. So what I mean by that is, right now it broke long, okay? So the market broke long here. Great. Actually, I did it, 30-minute. Yeah, it did. So it broke long here. Now, instead of going like this, like a lot of smart money mentorships nowadays do and teach, instead of going like this and saying, okay, now I want to buy here to go long to here to then go short, because again, based on what I teach you guys, so again, this is why it's so important to go through my videos, this is very unlikely. If price is to come down, it's much more likely to come right through it, okay? Because the overall narrative is already bearish. So instead of waiting for it to come here and then look to buy it, recognize you're bearish and say, if price comes here, I will look to sell, or if it breaks this low, I will use the new range on the short side to sell. Because what do I also teach you concerning the whole Wyckoff space and all that fun stuff? It takes one impulse for an accumulation, right? Selling climax, AR, potential ST that takes out the AR, right? Builds up equal lows, ST and B, breakout. People want to already trade this for the test up. However, and again, this is live price right now. I don't know what's going to happen. It's Saturday, September 17th as of the recording of this. So it's the weekend right now, just before our webinar tomorrow. That's going to be like an hour or two, where we're going to break down a few of these things in a little bit more detail. So a lot of people are already kind of dead set on using this right here to start going long, right? And that again puts them back in this dumb mentality of, because we had a break, we need to see bullish price action because we clearly have an area up here, rather than recognizing, number 4, that if the market's bearish, it's more likely to remain bearish. And if you're not profitable, you shouldn't be considering, or even you shouldn't even have the thought to try and counter trend the market, because there's no point. You're not profitable doing the simplest bottom tier level of things. So why are you already adding things? There's no profitable or extremely profitable person that started off doing everything. Most of them started with one thing and perfected it, and then extrapolated that to different versions of setups. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you will see this as you study success in this market. So instead of that, the better thing to do is wait for the breakdown. And again, what has that done? One impulse. So if we have this impulse occur, this one impulse creates this entire accumulation, as people love to call it, into a distribution, right? Then all of a sudden it's buying climax, AR, ST, multiple STs. Here's the UTAD. Here's the test happening potentially right now. So you could already be trading a lower time frame breakdown here. And as it breaks down, it has a few LPSYs, comes up for its last LPSY or test, and then breaks down. And a lot of people are once again left confused, running amok. Why is the market going short? I thought we had a perfect accumulation. What's happening? It's clearly a distribution. Hindsight motherfuckers. mentfx is hindsight Wyckoff king telling me that this was an accumulation when it's actually distribution. I never know what side of the market I'm going on, but that's because you're focusing on the wrong stuff. You're focusing on trading this bullish breakout because you're like, oh my God, it's a clean bullish breakout, when the market is screaming at you for the last 3 months, not even 3 months. How long has this been? Ever since this blue area here, we've been bearish, okay? Let's see. The market for the last 378 days, for the last year, I'm not actually mad. I'm just having fun. I'm passionate. For the last year has been screaming at you that it's going lower and wants to go lower. So why, without a clear displacement, as I teach on my YouTube channel as well, to the top side, are we even considering taking longs? Okay, and remember, this right here is not a displacement long, because remember, we go from left to right and we figure out the range we're actually in. And if you notice the range we're in, this is all intermediary structure. So again, use my left to right rule, use my 3-box strategy rule, and recognize we're bearish. So instead of forcing a long just because price broke long again and made a new spring or made a new low, because again, like you can look left here, and I shit you not, if you go into your personal smart money courses that you might be in, if they're not mine, it's perfectly fine. I don't care. But what you're going to see is a lot of your courses over the last year have been looking to buy here, whatever demand zones here, probably here, all these beautiful unmitigated zones. And what you're going to see is, once again, the striped pajama fallacy shows up, where you're trying to predict the lows because you're sure that finally the spring has happened. Finally, the spring has happened. Finally, the spring has happened. Finally, the spring. Finally, the spring. Finally, the spring. Finally, the spring. And you're just getting liquidated nonstop. This is how you stay trapped in this mentality, just because you think there's a valid zone and you want to do all this counter trend trade stuff when it's not. It's showing you what it wants to do. So the market's screaming one thing at you, and that's that it wants to be bearish. And because your ego is basically at the level of about 90% of people in this market that think that they're going to be profitable off the bat, especially when they jump onto a market or onto a chart live and haven't even had any experience or tested something, right? And they're waiting 5 weeks to find out if the zone's going to hold. You see this breakout, and all of a sudden you're long from this zone. And then price, I don't know if this is what's going to happen, but it's most likely the case, as price either takes out this high and comes and drizzles down to take out the low, or as price comes and drizzles down to take out this low, or as price comes and hit this and then comes drizzles down and takes out this low. People are lost and their brains are spazzing out trying to figure out why this accumulation didn't hold, why these breakouts to the top side didn't hold, why these lows that were so clean with these beautiful little inefficiencies, with the beautiful SND zones, or whatever else you want to call them, the 3,000 things that they named them on Instagram and stuff, why they're not holding. And then you can reach out to me on the DMs and say, Mr. mentfx, my zones never hold. What is the secret? What is the secret to choosing my zone? Well, the secret is testing, and actually the 4 things that I just outlined. And also, as part of those 4 things, focus on number 4, which is recognizing that you want to keep it simple if you're not already profitable. You want to stay on the side that creates the best opportunity for you. And if right now the market's showing you and screaming at you that it is bearish, the best thing to do isn't to trade the first bullish displacement that you think looks good. Instead, it's to look to continue going bearish. My God, if you skip this video to this point and you saw this, these are the markings of a madman. This literally looks like if you were a caveman back in the day and you started scribbling on the rocks. Like if I was a caveman back in the day, I'd probably be the person that's scribbling all that shit on the rocks. This looks absurd. I'm not even gonna lie. But anyone that's been here for a while and has been following my videos and even started from the beginning on this video, there's a method to all this madness. There's a method to all this madness, and a lot of you are having your brains blown because you're starting to realize what you can do personally for yourself right now. Because you can change everything you do for yourself, and you can put yourself ahead of 99% of people in this industry in about 3 months, 4 months. And within that time, after that, you can develop a system to the point where a year later, if you're actually following the process as I teach in the private mentorship, you can take yourself to levels that are like unprecedented. They're levels that you personally won't recognize. If you've seen any of my testimonials on Instagram, there's a lot of people that are like, holy shit, I've been here for like a month, a few months, I've been here for 6 months, and I have no idea what I was doing for my last 3-4 years learning. And a lot of people like basically jumped the gun and finally got to skip the nonsense they've been going through. And again, you don't have to join my private. I don't need you to do that. I just want you to focus on the things that actually matter in the trading space and the things that have proven to work for other profitable members, okay? Or profitable people. over the last 100 years. Again, none of this is, everything here is perspective based, but you can learn from it. Okay, so take the perspective I'm giving you and decide how you're going to execute on it going forward. So again, these are kind of the 4 things you want to focus on. Keep your things simple. Decide on what your strategy is. Structure S&D confirm, great. Don't worry about anything else. Don't worry about the like inducements, the change of characters, the change of sigma zones, the whatever the fuck else, the S&D plus 6 zone, the Asia zone, the New York zone. Like, you don't need to worry about these things. Instead, focus on 3 simple things and then notice how those 3 simple things play out in the market across timeframes, across sessions, right? Because if you understand sessions as well, when liquidity comes in, you also understand how markets move in relation to that, and then you know how to get positioned on the 3 box, and you know what's actually occurring there. And you're not focused on the wrong shit, like trying to again call a bottom or a high when the market is showing you one thing. So again, in relation to number 4, and this is something that you can do right now, right? If you know the market is short and has been screaming short at you and it hasn't shifted long and hasn't shown you that it wants to go long yet, right? With in this case, the double MB shift to the top side. I don't really teach that on YouTube, so I can't break that down right now, but I will break that down in the mentorship tomorrow for a few of you. If this market's showing you and screaming at you that it's still bearish, why are you focusing on the small little displacement that you just had on a 30-minute or 15-minute to go long? And then when price gets there and it fails through, you're wondering why you didn't notice the prior distribution right here to take it lower, right? Instead, I'm and my members are already looking in here on a lower time frame to get positioned with the 3-box system, right? Price breaks down, gives you a 3-box entry, and this is what we're targeting to liquidate, right? Because we understand why and how S&D zones act as also liquidity. We don't just take every S&D zone like this guy right here and decide that that's where we're going to long from because it's a clear zone, right? Clear, look, down move before the up move, clearly broke structure, and broke structure, it's clearly good. But again, go left to right, figure out where you are, follow the market, follow it, recognize where you are, recognize the most probable delivery of price, just like I spoke about for the last 5 months. Again, you don't have to believe because it looks like I'm doing it in hindsight right now. Watch the last 6 months of my videos. I've been breaking this price down for over a year now, talking about how it's going to go down, down, down. And it's been going down, down, down. And hopefully it keeps going down, down, down. And hopefully you also notice, I don't know if it's going to actually play out or not, how displacements like these that look like clear moves that want to take you higher are actually just acting as more liquidity creation because the market is already screaming at you that it's bearish. So again, to top it all off, if you force longs, it's going short. And if you know that's the truth, focus on that number 4, which is focus on the best setup. So if you know the market is short, look for shorts. Even though the longs are there and they will be available and you can add them on later, use the specific tiny edge and one concept, one understanding, one setup until you have it mastered and are profitable with it. Go get funded with mentfunding or any other firm or your personal broker, whatever it is. Then as you're executing and doing it full time, you can look to extrapolate and add certain things to your system to be able to find more trades, potentially better trades, better refinements of trades, right? However, if you're coming into this market thinking you're going to be able to do all this coming in brand new, you're just going to be over trading. You're going to be making the same psychological mistakes that most people make, and you're going to find yourself losing. So, I hope this video helped a few of you. Write these down, keep them in your mind. Go and study some like past, over the last 100 years, people that have been very successful in what they've said about their own trading, okay? And then begin to actually execute upon it. So something that you can actually do right now, as I said, in relation to this number 4 right here, well, one is go and study past price action in relation to what I teach you here. But also number 4 is if you are actively trying to like demo trade right now and you want to do it on the real price because you're just so dead set and you think that the only way you learn is with real price, focus on the side that the market is actually delivering to. And in this case, as EU continues to deliver bearish, focus on not the bullish ranges, but on the bearish ranges that can give you a setup to the downside, because those are innately, as a result of the current market conditions and the movement of this market and its current ranges, going to want to deliver short. All perspective based, not financial advice. Do not take trades based on this. Go and learn based on my perspective. Thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you again for the 100,000. This right here means so much to me. You guys are You guys are a blessing. Thank you so much. It's definitely going to go framed up in my office when it's time. And I hope this video changed a few of the ways that you might be thinking about your personal journey and alters the way that you actually act going forward on your actual journey, okay? So thank you so much, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, peace.